What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 55 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by the John Boy Walton to my Jim Bob Walton, Lester Jones.
Jim Bob McRimbob.
They're really clever with these these names, John Boy and Jim Bob. Let's see, and of course we got the ninth wonder. Chocolate Thunder, delivering DoorDash and getting tipped with DoorGash. The wine and dining, 69 and he'll throw an extra butter for a taste of that turd cutter. The phenomenal A.J. Singh.
Oh, you lost me at turd cutter. Oh my God, no.
The sad thing is now I gotta make up a new one of these. Speaking actually of turd cutter, I got a little story for you. So, I think we talked about this early on in the show. Early last year, I bought a bidet attachment for our toilet. And it was, the first time I ever used the bidet. And, let me tell you, you guys, it's a life changer. Everybody out there, if you don't have a bidet, you just, it's not right. You got to fix yourself. And I think we also talked about this is, me and AJ really hate to use public bathrooms, and I'll avoid it unless it's just a really pressing situation. So usually by the time I'm off work, I really have to shit, and usually that's about when the urge would hit me, so it wasn't that bad. But I don't know why this past week, it would hit in the early hours of getting to work. And today, right when I got to work, I'm like, oh man, I could just tell I was packing a real, nail biter. And I was just like, I don't want to lug this behemoth around all day. So I was like, fine, I'll break down and take a shit at work. So I did. And it's God damn, I miss the bidet. It's your asshole just kind of feels dirty all day, It's just
when you broke down and used the toilet, this is one of those stories should have been I clogged it. People were complaining. There should be some disaster associated.
I mean, it was a big shit, but luckily, no, it did not plug the toilet.
Any bleeding? Give me something.
The only part I hate, well, luckily, it was so early that I was actually the only one even in the building at the time, so it was fine.
So the janitor knew.
But it has one of those fucking, light sensor flushes on there. And I don't know about you guys, but, I can't really wipe my ass while seated like a lot of people do. I always have to, stand up a little bit to, get the right angles and stuff. And so I kept, setting off the fucking flusher, which is annoying.
Yes, relatable.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. So you guys take any shits this week?
I've been saving.
Any stories from the week? Oh, I know you had one about your work.
What was it?
Remember the
the incident? Yeah, so one of the guys I was working with, he's kind of messed up because he'd had a stroke and he's only been walking again for 5 or 6 months or something. But some homeless woman just comes in and being crazy, and he's having this altercation with her, and I guess they're going back and forth. And at some point, she has this prosthetic leg that she takes off and starts hitting him with this prosthetic leg. Anyway, he got fired.
He got fired?
Well, apparently, he was kind of aggressive in it, but he's also been doing a shit job. So I think they were kind of looking for a reason to move him down the. Yeah. I don't want to say send him down the river because he's black.
Oh.
But yeah, he probably should have still been on disability or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Man, I want to see that security footage though.
Yeah, they told us not to watch it. They're scared of getting sued. So.
Okay, that makes sense why they fired him then.
So yeah, I don't know. There were so many people.
I had some guests over this week. Some family, some cousins. We went to everywhere in Portland. It felt like we went to the Chinese Gardens for a ghost tour at night. Now, we went to a few other places. We went to the Multnomah Falls. We went to Crumble Cookies. We went to Blue Star Donuts. We went to all the,
All the touristy.
They're not touristy, are they?
Yeah, I mean they're kind of popular little places.
Yeah, probably.
More people know about Voodoo, I guess.
Yeah. We went to all our favorite restaurants. We ordered our favorite pizzas. We had a great time. But we did go on this ghost tour downtown at the Chinese Garden, and that was an interesting experience.
Were there like Chinese people? Because there was like a Chinese underground or something here.
Yeah, there was.
Did people die there? What was the story?
Yeah, people did die there. Like stuff happened in those buildings. They were very old, like cast iron buildings and stuff.
Because there's like underground tours around.
Yeah. There's tunnels.
Yeah,
underneath those buildings, and they even said that some of them have like trap doors. There's a bar down there that has like trap doors where,
nice.
They would capture like sailors who came into town and like sell them back.
Like conscript them. Yeah.
Yeah, and like they were already indentured servants, but the people who had their servitude, they had to pay to get them back because they were being abducted.
Right.
It's nuts. This all kinds of stuff. But the homeless people, man, like
that's a really bad area.
Yeah, when we parked, first of all, there were a lot of tents. I was like, okay, this is going to be heavily populated with homeless people, and then the tour started, and it was like, okay, not just homeless people, but like the first thing was, yeah, there were homeless people everywhere. People were peeing. One guy was doing crack.
Like right now, they'll do it straight in front of the cops. They deregulated. The cops can't do anything.
Yeah,
it's insane.
It was, and then there was a guy who was skateboarding, and he was almost hit by a car. When I went downtown, I almost hit a homeless guy with my car because he was like the Michael Jordan of homeless people. He jumped from the sidewalk into the middle of the road in like no time. And then like he like points at another car that was trying to make a U-turn. He's like, "Oh, that." And I'm like, "What is that? How does that make a difference?" It was nuts. And then there was another guy in a wheelchair who was yelling like all kinds of stuff to our tour guide. Like this lady who was actually doing the tour, her husband was there for security, so it was kind of safe because he was like ex-military.
Well, I guess there's some like clubs and strip clubs down there, and they started hiring like ex-soldiers, but they're out there carrying like freaking AK-47s and fucking random maybe not AK-47 but what's the US, the AR-15s.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, just fully armed outside these clubs and shit. It was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it felt weird. So this guy was just like, first of all, she's like speaking these like facts about this event that happened in this building and how it's horror, like it's related to ghosts and stuff. And like this guy in the wheelchair, and he's like, "You're a liar! You lying this and that." And then he's like, "On your knees," and this and like this, and she's just powering through it. She's like, whatever.
Don't give him any attention.
Yeah. After a couple of seconds, like 30 seconds, he went off and left everybody alone. But,
the Chinese Garden though is gorgeous.
Yeah, we never got to see it, and you know what? Everybody,
you guys were just like on the outside of it.
Yeah, we used
with
to
a bunch of homeless people.
Yeah, like down in that area, like block
That's
to
like
block.
the worst side of town.
Yeah. That's why the tour was there, I think, because Okay, so that was the worst side of town. We showed my cousins, and they were like not impressed with Portland after that.
Yeah, that is not the place to go.
That was all Ruman's doing. She was like, she said that. That's my sister.
I mean, if you could just go in and park, you get in the garden, fine. But yeah, Old Town is just it's just packed.
That was just your ploy to make sure your relatives never visited you. Like, we'll take them on a tour, all right.
No, all in all, I think they turned out to have a good impression. They had a good time. I think so.
But I mean, that's like what happened in San Francisco. Like, people go to visit as tourists, and they're just like, it's so filthy and packed with homeless, and there's like human shit everywhere, and they're just like, never going back there again. Whew. So I mean, it's a mistake. They're making bad policy choices, I think.
I mean, so from what I heard, like a lot of these Republican states, they have this thing called Greyhound therapy, where they like give them bus tickets. And
right, you just give them a ticket to anywhere but here.
Yeah, and then they end up coming over here because they know it's like more lenient and the
Right.
weather's
There's certain
better.
places like San Francisco
Yeah.
and like here where they think
The weather.
it's a great place to go. Yeah.
all that stuff.
So you get a lot of
So we get like everybody's homeless people.
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense to be homeless somewhere where it's freezing cold if you can be homeless where it's
Yeah.
warm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, New York has a big problem and it's fucking awful there.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, they get cold in the wintertime and shit. So yeah, and I'm sure Chicago has a ton of homeless too.
Oh, yeah.
But and you wouldn't think so because it's so fucking cold there. But
Yeah. Take my stick and hobo bag and start fucking walking south.
taking that hobo bindle with you. Well, in just a few minutes, we're gonna have a review of the Suicide Squad. It's important to get that "the" in there so they know we're not reviewing the one from
The trash
the
one.
shittier one from years ago. But I always like to ask: did you guys watch anything else this week?
Not in particular, no.
Oh,
I haven't even watched the What Ifs by Loki.
The Marvel What Ifs.
Yeah, looking
I haven't
forward
watched
to
either.
it.
What's that on?
It's on Disney.
Yeah.
Is it? Did our Disney expire?
I think it did.
Okay, someday.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I did watch Knives Out, and I loved it. I
Zach
loved it.
loves that one.
I
too.
love that movie too.
I thought it was okay.
I really enjoyed it.
That kind of movie, that like closed door murder mystery type movie, like that's my jam.
If done well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like-
good.
And they're making 2 more of those, I guess, that are gonna be on Netflix. Netflix made a deal to get the sequel, so that's cool.
Oh, okay, interesting. That was a great cast in this first one.
Oh, I know. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
It was okay.
He's a hating ass hater. I just
Yeah, man.
I
I
just
don't like anything.
I just told him that Brooklyn Nine-Nine is going into its last season, and he was all happy about it because he hates that show. I'm like, how can you hate Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
It's like one of those shows that was okay. It's like, yeah. I never felt like more like amused occasionally, not like funny. I was like, oh, that's amusing.
Well, I actually did watch quite a bit of stuff besides Suicide Squad. So I started off my week. I finished up the last couple episodes I had of The Flash, season 7. So I got that. The Flash, savior of the universe. And then since we got HBO, I went ahead and did what you guys have already done before, and I prepared thine anus to sit down for 3.5 hours and watch Seven Samurai.
Oh yeah, nice.
And I'll say, I don't know if I liked it as much as you guys. Like, I thought it was decent. I don't think it's anything I would ever watch again. And for a samurai movie, I wish it had more sword fighting. But
More titties.
yeah, it's decent. It's worth watching once for sure. Then I watched on HBO a show called Mayor of Easttown, which has Kate Winslet in it. It's only like 7 episodes. It's like a mini series or whatever, like a murder mystery in Easttown, Philadelphia, I want to say. And I thought it was actually really good. It's got some good kind of twists and turns in there. So I really enjoyed that. And then also on HBO, because I just have to watch all these superhero shows, I started Batwoman season 2. And I'll say this, it's pretty heavy-handed sometimes, it's pretty silly sometimes, but you can watch it, and it's a superhero show. So.
Did you look up when that next season of Doom Patrol is coming?
I haven't looked it up, but I'm looking forward to it.
I could do another season of that.
Have you guys watched Titans at all?
I haven't tried that one yet.
I saw like a commercial for season 3. I haven't seen any of it, but it looked like that's well made. Like that they put money into that show.
I remember when it was first coming out, like there was a commercial for it. And like I think it was like Dick Grayson had a line where he's like "fuck Batman" or something. And it just I was like, I don't know about this, but I might eventually give it a shot.
It looked cool.
Well, all right. Are you guys ready to get into the Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah,
Suicide Squad.
yeah.
Now, I watched this movie like 6 days ago, so I'm going to need your guys' help in kind of remembering the plot points. So first, we're just going to give a kind of overview of the movie and go over our spoiler-free impressions for anybody who's worried about spoilers. And then after that, we'll kind of go into a more spoiler-filled plot breakdown and our thoughts on everything. All right, so The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn. The overall synopsis reads thusly: Welcome to Hell, aka Bell Rev, the prison with the highest mortality rate in the US of A, where the worst supervillains are kept and where they will do anything to get out, even join the super secret, super shady Task Force X. Today's do or die assignment: assemble a collection of cons including Bloodsport, Peacemaker, Captain Boomerang, Ratcatcher 2, Savant, King Shark, Blackguard, Javelin, and everyone's favorite psycho, Harley Quinn. Then arm them heavily and drop them on the remote enemy-infused island of Corto Maltese. Trekking through a jungle teemed with militant adversaries and guerrilla forces at every turn, the squad is on a search and destroy mission with only Colonel Rick Flag on the ground to make them believe, and Amanda Waller's government techies in their ears, tracking their every movement, and as always, one wrong move, and they're dead. Whether at the hands of their opponent, a teammate, or Waller herself. If anyone's laying down bets, the smart money is against them all. All right, and the huge cast includes Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, Idris Elba as Bloodsport, John Cena as Peacemaker, Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, Sylvester Stallone as the voice of King Shark, Joel Kinnaman as Colonel Rick Flag, Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang, Peter Cabaldi as the Thinker, David Desmalchin as the Polka Dot Man, Daniela Melchior, I'm probably mispronouncing that, as Ratcatcher 2, Michael Rooker as Savant, Alice Braga as Sonia, Pete Davidson as Blackguard, Joaquin Cosio as Mateo Suarez, Juan Diego Bato as Silvio Luna, Storm Reed as Tyla, Nathan Fillion as TDK, Steve Agee as John Economos, and also the mocap for King Shark. Sean Gunn as the mocap for Weasel, and he plays Calendar Man as well. Mei Ling NG as Mongal. I don't know, like, the Asian last name of just NG. I don't know how that's supposed to be pronounced.
I'm not sure either.
Because, like, there's the NGUYEN, which is pronounced Win.
Yeah.
But I don't know about just NG. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, that's a large cast. All right. So, yeah, spoiler free. What was just you guys' overall feelings on the movie?
I liked it. It was fun. It was. I felt like it was an up and down joyride. You know, like there was a no wasted scene. Like it was 2 hours and 12 minutes, I think. But I didn't feel like any of that was like needed to be cut out or anything. You know, it felt like it all.
Yeah, you're right on 2 hours and 12 minutes.
Yeah. So yeah, I felt I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like it was decently put together. Like all the pieces were there. At the same time, I kind of felt like maybe there wasn't enough chemistry between the group. Like they were all kind of on their own and they didn't fit together. Kind of. I don't know. It's kind of a. I don't know. I mean, they are like, you know, out of prison and they're supposed to be assholes or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel similar to you where, like, I thought this movie was just okay. Like, I didn't love it, didn't hate it. Like, it's fine. But it's one of those things where, like, I was excited to see it simply because of James Gunn, because I really like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I think he is a good director. And maybe it's not fair to really compare this to Guardians of the Galaxy, but I didn't, like you said, I didn't feel like there was as much chemistry. I didn't feel, there didn't seem to be as much heart, and I didn't think even like the humor worked as well as in
they
Guardians.
never like pulled together. I mean, they did come together as a team, but it wasn't like there wasn't any camaraderie, I guess.
Yeah, I saw a video kind of that goes into somewhat sort of related to that, I think, is like their backstories and like getting invested in these characters. They said that that's not what they want to do in this movie. Like they want you. These are throwaways. You know, like you're not supposed to like get all of their story. You're supposed to think of them as like kind of like not.
I mean,
valued.
that's okay, but I still would have liked to seen them come together. And I think they tried to do that a little bit with like the shark, which I didn't know that was Stallone. So
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I know. I saw that they mentioned him at the beginning, but I was like, "Where is he?" And, I know.
But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. I don't know. I think some actors just have chemistry with each other. I just didn't really feel it, I guess. But I mean, one of the team members, I don't know if I should spoil it, was basically just an asshole. And there's a couple others that are kind of loners. So
yeah, we'll get into it more when we start spoiling things. But I feel like there's a couple characters that they did kind of give you their backstory and made you care a little bit more about them. But yeah, a lot of the other ones were just kind of throwaways that you never really cared about. Well, all right. So yeah, sounded like AJ, you probably liked it the most, and then we kind of are so on it. But should we get into spoiler territory?
yeah, let's roll. Well, let's do the plot walk.
All right, guys. Spoilers from this point out. So we started off the movie with Michael Rooker's character, Savant.
I did like the beginning. I thought that was a smart move.
Okay, yeah, we'll get to it. So he's in prison. I'm not sure what his power is. He can throw a ball really accurately and hard enough to kill a bird.
Was he like supposed to be a demolitions expert or something? He was supposed to have some expertise.
I don't know.
I forgot what it was.
I'm not sure. I would think just like maybe enhanced strength of throwing projectiles. I don't really know.
He killed a bird with a ball, so I guess
once he gets on mission,
he's got really good coordination.
Once he gets on mission, he doesn't really do much. But really, they introduce you to the concept of the Suicide Squad right away. Waller comes and gets him, gives him the whole spiel like, hey, you go on this mission, we'll knock time off your sentence, but we're going to put this explosive device in your head. If you go off mission, we'll kill you. And then he meets Rick Flag right there, and they come out, and you're basically introduced to a bunch of people that you know are going to die pretty quickly.
Right. Right there. Well, I didn't immediately piece it together, but they had like some really like shitty people, like Boomerang, Captain Boomerang.
Well, the funny thing about him is like, in the comics, like he's been with associated with the Suicide Squad for like a very long time, and played like an integral role.
So he was a veteran.
Yeah. So, and he was in the first movie too. So he was actually, I guess, the one I was surprised they killed so quickly. But okay with it because.
Right.
But yeah. So basically, they all get on a plane and they're headed towards Corto Maltese. And they get there, and like right away, as they get there, Pete Davidson's character Blackguard, basically we find out like sold him out somehow. He contacted the Corto Maltesians ahead of time.
Right.
How?
Like, what was his plan? Like, even if he made this contact, made a deal with him, he knows he has like an explosive put in his head. And then he's like, okay, we had a deal, don't shoot me. And then they just blow his head off.
Yeah, that raises a couple questions. So one, he was a prisoner, so how did he even get this message out to him? Mm-hmm. And two, like, how did he think this was going to go? Because like, even if he made it safely to their side, Waller would just have blown his brains out anyway.
Right, well...
He's an idiot is what they show him as, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, I guess if he hadn't spoke up, like, maybe he would have had a chance. But yeah, it was weird.
But yeah, basically, they all start like shooting at each other, and so Nathan Fillion's character, TDK. What do they call him? Like the detachable kid or something like that?
Yeah. Right.
And he has this weird like shit power where like his arms like detach. He can like go punch guys from a long ways away. But they end up just like shooting his arm.
And then he's like writhing in the ground.
Yeah.
That was stupid. It was kind of funny.
That was stupid. Now, another thing that I didn't think made a lot of sense. So basically, everything's going to hell. Like most.
Yeah, they're getting killed left and right.
They're getting killed left and right, including Captain Boomerang. Like a helicopter comes down on him and kills him. Like Harley, like the people you know are going to make it through it. Like Harley and Rick Flag, they're like behind this wall and kind of pinned down, but they're alive. Now, one thing I also thought was kind of stupid. So everything's going to shit. So Michael Rooker's character, Savant or whatever, he's like, well, I'm getting the fuck out of here. So he starts swimming away. And Waller's like, you go back there. And my thing is, like, couldn't she see, like, everything was going to shit? If he went back, he would have died anyway.
Yeah, you could just put him on another mission.
Yeah, exactly.
Or redirected him
so
later.
Why not just let him swim away, get a safe distance so that she can use him later, instead of just being like, oh, you're going off mission, I'm going to blow your fucking head off, which is what she does.
But I think they were used as decoys, right, to get the other team in.
Well, I think theirs just went to shit.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were... I don't think they were necessarily just used as a decoy, because I think Waller at least values Rick Flag.
That's true, yeah, you're right.
So yeah, I think it was just the other team was a kind of a backup plan, because in case, this one went to shit or whatever, is the way I kind of took it. What did you guys think? Because like when Savant's head blows off, like the blood spells out, Warner Brothers Presents, and he does this throughout the whole movie where he kind of uses the environment to, spell out like a chapter title or whatever.
I mean, you do see it in comics, like a fair amount.
Yeah.
So it's just a little homage to that.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of a...
slightly distracting.
Slightly distracting, I guess, but cool enough. I kind of like the one, they do one towards the end, like on a building with like pipes.
Right, and everything's kind of... Like, I've seen sculptures like that, but they're kind of misplaced. And like if you're looking at it from the right angle, like you can see something, but then you shift the angle a little bit and it disappears.
Yeah. So I thought that one was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a kind of a cool concept.
So yeah, basically this team goes all the shit, and so then it kind of shows you the map of Corto Maltese, and it goes to another spot, and then we see that they got a team B that's coming in led by Idris Elba, and I think it's like Idris Elba,
the Shark,
John Cena,
the Polka Dot Man, the Rat Queen,
Rat Catcher too, that group, and then from there they kind of flash back a couple weeks to show you how that team got put together.
Oh, did you mention though that that weasel looking?
Oh yeah, the weasel.
Oh yeah, so in the first group, there was that weasel character, who, the trailers made it look like he was going to be like a big thing, and then he was in 2 scenes.
Well, because basically they drop out of the helicopter and like he drowns immediately. So you're like, well, this is going to shit. And they drag him on the beach. I was kind of like, part of me was like, yeah, he's not dead.
Yeah.
But
and then eventually at the end of the very end of the movie, we find out he is alive.
But he was in prison for like eating children or something.
27 children.
Oh, I missed that part. Is that what they said?
Yeah.
I'm like I've read a ton of DC comics. I wonder how many of I wonder if these are all like obscure DC characters like Weasel and TDK, or if they're just made up for the movie.
Originals. Yeah, I have no idea.
I wasn't sure. I mean, I've never seen those characters, those two in the comics, so I wasn't for sure. But yeah, it flashes back a couple weeks prior. Idris Elba is like, he has to do like shitty like janitor work in the prison. And like Waller wants to recruit him for a mission, but he won't do it. But then they bring in his daughter to talk to him, who has like an estranged relationship with him. And this is another thing that I thought was kind of stupid. So like she says she got into like some trouble because she stole like an Apple Watch or something. And like they have this argument where he's like, "Oh, you got caught" or whatever. And but then what Waller does is she's like, it'd be a shame if that girl like got arrested and put in Belle Rive or what. He's basically, she's threatening to imprison his daughter. But like, even if she was shitty and used all her weight, how is she gonna get his daughter like a long stretch in prison for shoplifting an Apple Watch?
Who knows, man?
She has the sway to like maybe make the prosecutor press heavier charges. And
Still, it seems like she would have to plant drugs on her or something. She's not going to get a big long jail sentence out of stealing a watch.
I mean, even if it's a bluff, like, it's still your kid.
yeah.
I guess. I just thought maybe they could have had her do something where I could maybe believe it a little more. But I don't know. I thought that was a little silly. But yeah, basically that convinces Idris Elba to go on the mission. And then we get this little walk through the prison where we're introduced to the other people that are going to be on his team. John Cena is Peacemaker, and basically they just make it sound like he's a good shot with a gun, right?
He's like Punisher, right? Like basically,
like the Peacemaker and Idris Elba. Basically, they're both really good with guns. That's their thing.
That's basically their thing.
Which usually only have one person that's in that category.
And apparently Will Smith's Deadshot was busy, so they needed someone else. We're introduced to Ratcatcher 2. Like, she's this younger girl, and she's always sleepy for some reason.
Yeah, she's always asleep.
Well, the theory is that she's sleeping and dreaming about good times with her dad or something.
Oh. They do get in her backstory. Apparently, her dad invented this technology where she can control rats.
Yeah, that's one thing. They try to make you give her a little backstory so you care more about her. So later on, we find out that her dad. She was close to her dad. He invented the technology, but then he was a heroin addict or something, and eventually died.
You rats need to bring me more heroin.
The dad, played by Taika Waititi, who directed Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, I know Marvel has a deal where some of its actors can't appear in DC movies, something like that. But I saw Mantis in this.
Oh, was she in there too?
She was on stage doing a performance.
Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
didn't notice.
Then Michael Rucker, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yondu.
yeah, because James Gunn, worked with him on Guardians.
Yeah, so
But he was done with Guardians.
Yeah, that's true. They were done. Yeah, but I was just saying, I'm surprised they let directors and these people go back and forth.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly Marvel's rules about that are, but yeah, there seem to be some people that get a walk between the two worlds.
Yeah.
Let's see. So yeah, they're in the prison. Who else? Oh, Polka Dot Man. They're introduced to. Okay, so then I believe it just kind of cuts forward then back to the present where they're on the island.
Right. They make a separate landing. They're going up the beach. They don't really encounter any resistance, right?
Not at first. So yeah, I think this is more to just kind of introduce the characters a little more. So John Cena, he has that back and forth with Idris Elba about how if it was in favor of peace, he'd eat a whole island full of dicks or whatever.
Yeah,
that line. And then Polka Dot Man, for some reason, gets an allergic reaction that causes his face to
Right. The story was his mom was a scientist, and somehow she was doing experiments she thought would give him powers.
him and his siblings powers.
But instead they got interdimensional herpes.
Yeah.
He did. I don't know about his siblings, but yeah, that's what he got. The polka dots are is this interdimensional disease
That he has to release or he'll die.
Yeah, he says he has to release it twice a day or something like that, or he'll die.
So that's I was confused about that. So does he only get to release it twice a day? Is that how he fights? Or
I was wondering that too, because when it gets to the very end section, he's using his powers.
Yeah.
So I'm
It had to have petered out though, because he only did it for a few seconds. He didn't obliterate the entire creature.
Yeah, you're right.
He harmed it and then he stopped.
But he also used his power a couple times before that. So
Not a lot of times though.
So I think must be able to use it more than twice a day. Maybe it's a minimum thing he's got to.
Okay, yeah.
But they also have that thing like when he does get all like puffed up from the infection in the jungle, he eventually like you see he like goes and he pukes it all out like colors of rainbow or whatever. And then like oh yeah, King Shark like wakes him up in the middle of the night because he's about to eat Ratcatcher 2, and she's like sleeping and doesn't notice, which is another thing where I'm like, I don't really buy this that she's sleeping.
She's a heavy sleeper.
Yeah, and like
Idris.
Yeah, Idris is afraid of like she uses her rats.
Oh yeah, he's terrified of the rat,
and he's terrified of the rat. And John Cena's in his tidy whities for what's supposed to be comedic effect, I guess.
Yeah, why was he in those?
I mean,
to sleep?
I mean, why'd you pay money for a ticket?
I was just, yeah, you're right.
With any luck, you'll see his penis in some tidy whities.
No, I think it flashes back to the other group where, like, now I forget exactly what happens here. Somehow Rick Flag, he gets away, but then he's immediately captured by who we think at the time is like the bad guys on the island.
You're right. This is confusing because two things happen. Somehow in this big melee where there's like a million bad guys, like I don't know if they're really clear, but he ends off with a separate group of insurgents, and somehow Harley Quinn is she fell in a hole and nobody found her and killed her apparently.
No, they found her, but they didn't kill her. They took her to like their dictator.
Oh, that's right. They did find her later and abduct her.
And
which her storyline gets a pretty absurd.
Yeah, and like right before they catch her, right before they catch her, Flula Borg, I think is his name, the guy that plays Javelin. Like he's dying, and he's like, "Take my javelin, you'll know when to use it or whatever." And like because I saw the trailers to this movie and I knew Starro was in it, like from the get-go I was like, oh, that's probably how they're going to use it. So it was a little predictable because I saw. If I didn't see the trailer, of course I wouldn't know, but because I did, I was like, okay, I think I see where this is going. So yeah, she's captured and brought to the dictator or whatever, which we'll get to. Oh yeah, I guess we did skip they had a part at the beginning where Waller had them all in a briefing room, kind of going over. They're like, oh yeah, this Corto Maltese had this one family in charge forever. They suck. Yeah, they suck too. But now, like they died or whatever, and this other guy comes in and he's like, they're like staunchly anti-American, and they have this facility there with something called Project Starfish, which is this starfish, and they show this like video. Some American astronauts found it in space, and they brought it back. And I forget exactly how they explain how it ended up in the hands of the Corto Maltese government.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think
because I think the U.S. didn't want to do the testing on their soil.
Oh, that's
so
right.
They did it like over there.
So they set up the facilities on.
Oh, okay.
Internationally.
And so basically, she tells them that the people that were in charge before had like an agreement or something where they wouldn't attack the U.S. or something, but now they're not so sure because this other guy's in charge, or maybe something like that. I don't know.
It's become a security issue.
Yeah, it's become a security issue. So ultimately, they have two goals. One is to go to this bar and find the Thinker, played by Peter Capaldi, because he works at the facility with Starro, and then they're supposed to use him to break into, what do they call that facility? It has a name. Jotunheim or something?
Yeah, Jotunheim.
That sounds right, yeah.
And get Project Starfish.
That's the land Loki was from, right? The Jotunheim?
Yeah. So, I'm trying to think here. So I think the next thing that happens is Waller finds out that Flag's alive, but captured. So she tells Idris Elba's group that now your mission is to...
Right, they get a side mission.
You get a side mission now to rescue Flag. So they go, and I will say I actually did like this sequence in the movie and the payoff. So like they're going through and they're just like you know,
right. So they come to the enemy camp,
yeah.
and basically they go through and they're silently, like killing all these people.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to go, but
People who are like doing normal everyday things.
right.
No, you're on the right track. Yeah, they're like, I mean, they weren't totally quiet because John Cena like blew that one guy up with an exploding bullet.
Well, that was another thing is like they lit a couple people on fire, and everyone seemed kind of oblivious to their screaming.
Yeah, there's definitely like some logic problems here. Just like with the lady sleeping with King Shark grabbing her. There's some cartoonishness.
But then, so John Cena and Idris are having kind of a little pissing contest to show off and who can kill people the coolest or whatever. And then there's like a gratuitous dick shot.
Oh, with John Cena's pants or whatever?
No, man, you guys don't remember that? There's like this one guy, he's like in a tent, he opens the flap or whatever, he's standing there with his dick out, and they like shoot the shit out of him.
Oh, he had like kind of, yeah, okay.
I don't think I remember the dick.
There was, man.
I just thought you were talking about like John Cena and his tidy
like,
whities and his tight pants.
For no reason, there's just like this dude's dick is flapping
Man, okay.
I missed it. I was paying too much attention to the explosions, I guess. I will say there was a line that I actually liked from John Cena here where, like, I think Idris Elba is like, peacemaker or whatever, and he's like, I love peace. I'll kill as many men, women, and children as I have to if it means getting to peace.
There's another one where he does like a trick shot where he shoots someone over his shoulder, and like he makes some pissy comments like, it doesn't matter if it looks cool, and Idris is like, he has like this, damn it, he's right.
Yeah, he's like, fuck, he's right. Yeah, I like that too, yeah. So they're killing all these guys, and finally they get to the tent that Flag's in, and like he's not captured, like he's having tea with like the woman that leads this insurgent group, and we find out like they're not the bad guys, they're like, you know, this insurgent like rebel group that's going against the corrupt government. And they're like, ooh.
Yeah, they just killed
all your comrades.
Your family. Oh, my gosh. Oh, yeah,
the lady, she takes it pretty well in the end.
Yeah, she does. Well, she gets her reward, you know. She gets to become, you know. Well, we'll get to it.
Now, is this where where do they find out that Harley's alive? Is it right around this part?
Yeah, so while they're doing that, she branches off into her separate timeline where she's taken to that mansion or whatever. They clean her up and put her in a dress. And then they have this like big whirlwind romance with her and this dictator. And yeah, it feels weird, but yeah, it's like this big romance thing.
Well, yeah, so this is another thing that I'm like questioning the logic of. Basically, the guy says the people would love it if he married Harley Quinn because she represents like this anarchy towards America. And I'm like, really? I don't know.
It's like if the people want it, yeah, it is a bit random.
Yeah, why would the people want Harley Quinn of all? I mean, I get what they're trying to say, but that's a weird thing for families, mothers, and
fathers.
Whose
brain was this thought in?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That part seems like another kind of leap of logic. It doesn't really make a lot of sense if you think about it, but you're just like, okay. But the thing is like, well, I guess, I mean, she was with the Joker, but like, she should be able to immediately tell that this guy's kind of a shithead, right? But yeah, like you said, they have this like weird whirlwind romance and like they have sex and whatever. And then as soon as it's done, like they're having this conversation, and I think he basically mentions that I don't know if he has plans to, or he would just be okay with basically using the Star Project to like kill people if he had to or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't catch the line.
I think he's basically saying that he would kill his own people to get him in line or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But basically then we hear a gunshot and we find out that Harley just like, you know, shot him. And she was like, oh, that's where she realized, oh, this guy fucking sucks. And she shot him and he dies. And then, of course, that brings like in the guards and they
They detain her.
Yeah, they
and there's,
detain
like,
her.
some general is going to take charge.
So I think now we go back to our other group, and I think this is where they end up going to that bar.
Right, they have the mission to go find the Brainiac guy.
Yeah.
And they know he hangs out at a bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they're on this, like, I think they mentioned that they have to, because the people now know that they're on the island, they have to put on civilian disguises. And, they find this Milton guy that has a bus, and he has, like, I guess the clothes they change into or whatever.
Yeah.
Milton, he's, like, with the rebel group, I guess.
Yeah. I guess something like that.
I couldn't tell if he was like part of the operation from Amanda Waller's side.
Because later they say he was been with us the entire time.
Yeah, but that was a joke.
I was like, I don't know.
But I think he's related to the rebel group, and the one head lady like gave him the way to contact him or whatever. So he's got this bus, and now they're dressed as civilians and heading towards the bar. And this is where we get that backstory for Ratcatcher we were talking about, where we find out she loved her dad, and he made the rat device. This is another thing I thought was a little silly. Is it wasn't in that scene, but later on they have yet another callback to her and her dad, like sitting on this like tall building, like maybe in France or wherever. But the shape of the building, I'm like, I don't think there's like an access point to that roof. Like, how did they get up there? But I mean, that's another thing I guess you just write off as.
Yeah, I don't think about those things anymore.
We also find, I think she asked like Idris Elba, like, why are you afraid of rats? And he says like, oh, my dad, like, as a punishment once put me in this crate and it had a rat in it or something like that, right?
A bunch of rats.
Yeah, yes. So they get to the bar, and the Thinker is not there yet. So they have a scene where they sit down for drinks, and they, like, are dancing and shit. Oh, I forgot. One thing I forgot is, like, well, we kind of mentioned, like, Polka Dot Man. Like, he has this thing where he hates his mom, but he also, like, sees everybody as his mom.
That's a funny
right,
touch. Yeah.
Like, the first part, like, when he kills somebody at the one camp, he's like, oh, I hate killing people, but it's easy if I just imagine they're my mom or something. But then later, like, he's dancing in the club, and basically it shows his point of view, and basically he sees everyone as his mom.
Yeah.
Which is like, well, that's that might not turn out great. I guess.
Yeah. So, yeah, they have this sequence, I guess, where they're getting to know each other. But then the military, like, they know they're on the island, so they're looking for Americans. So, like, they come in and they're like, everybody show us your ID. We're looking for Americans. And, like, they split up at, I actually skipped because the Thinker does end up coming to the bar.
Yeah, he's there.
Idris Elba, like, holds him up with his gun, and he's like, you're coming with us or whatever. I got a gun on you. But then that's when the bad guys break in. And so then they split up. I think Ratcatcher and Polka Dot Man take Thinker out the back to their van.
Right. The other ones are distracting them.
They're
Americans or something.
Yeah, Idris Elba, Flag, and John Cena basically surrender to distract the guys. So then, this is another thing. Okay, so now they're in the back of a van, like a Brinks truck like type security van, with 3 guards as well, right?
Yeah.
And like Idris Elba is like gets a smoke from one of the guys, right?
Yeah, one of the guards.
And I'm thinking, okay, somehow he's going to use the lit cigarette to, like, kill the guy.
Right.
But then they all 3 end up just, like, headbutting the guys, like, in the noses, like, where it, like, you know, puts their bone nose through their brain or whatever and kills them in one hit. Why did he need the cigarette for that?
I don't know. He kind of keeping things casual. I don't know. And then he was just talking to the other guys about the one hit kill or whatever. And they're like on one, and then they all do their move and they kill all the guards.
I mean, it would have been one thing if, like, he was like, "Hey, can you like light this cigarette for me?" And then when the guy leans in, he uses that to headbutt the guy. But that wasn't the case.
Right.
And then like they even make a thing where he's like coughing or whatever, and he's like, "I don't smoke." And so I don't know. I just. But anyway, this they kill those guys. And then this isn't a very good security van because John Cena is able to take out his gun and blow through the metal into the driver, which causes, of course, the security van they're in to wreck and like go off. It does a bunch of rolls, and then conveniently the bus with the other guys pull up right then. And the guys all get out of the van. They're okay. They're like, slightly like bleeding or whatever, but they're fine. And then I believe this now is where they find out that Harley's alive, right?
Somewhere in there, yeah, because they take another side mission.
I believe so because like right at that point, like it's spelling out in fire like Operation Jotunheim, but then it changes to Operation like Save Harley or whatever. So now we go to Harley. She's being tortured by So now that the one guy's dead, this other guy takes his place, who's presumably like even worse. Like,
Right.
Suarez.
yeah. So him and his torturer are like, they got Harley tied up to the ceiling, and her like hands are bound, and they're like shocking the shit out of her. She's like refusing to talk or whatever, or tell them what they want. So Suarez leaves, and the other guy's in there, and she like pulls herself up and like basically wraps her legs around his neck and like hangs him.
Right. And so, like, I could imagine, like, making someone pass out with, like, some kind of leg lock around the head. But then, like, after he, like, passes out or he's passing out, like, she takes her arms and she lifts, she does, like, a pull-up of this, like, 250, 300-pound guy off the floor with, like, arms like this big around and, like, I don't know. It was too much. If you would have just passed out and fell on the floor, I'd been like, okay, that's fine.
Well, this is another thing from the first movie that didn't really make sense, but like in her like prison cell in the first movie, she had like these circuits what's that called? Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, Cirque
du Soleil.
Yeah, whatever that is. She had like those like ropes they used to do tricks, and she was like doing like pulling herself up, and for some reason like they're like, oh, we'll let her entertain herself in her cell with these things. So there's a little like I guess continuity there. She's like really got upper body strength. By the way, I've always felt like in comics they had this thing called the New 52 that happened in 2011 where they just like rebooted all the books. And like when Suicide Squad rebooted, they made her a part of the Suicide Squad. But I've always felt like she doesn't really fit in there cuz like I mean she doesn't really have any special skills, and like how did she become like this great like martial arts like fighter anyways? It's just I always thought it was kind of an odd fit to put her in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. She has more character than like everybody else.
More character, but I don't think she like makes sense to put on one of these missions.
Yeah. I don't
well,
know.
she's just a criminal who is adept at getting whatever she does want to do done.
Like I feel like Idris Elba and like John Cena is like, oh yeah, they're great marksmen, and like they have things that make sense. But with she can hit people with a bat or a mallet. I don't know. I just thought it was always kind of a weird fit. But anyway, let's see, where were we now? She hangs the guy with her legs.
Right. They're on their mission to come save her.
Yeah. So she gets a gun, and then she's going through. They have this action scene now where first she kills a bunch of guys with a gun. I think she kills a few more just hand to hand. And then conveniently she finds that javelin that the one guy gave her. And they have this sequence now where she's like killing guys with the javelin, but when she makes them bleed, they're like bleeding like flowers and shit.
Yeah. Super stylized.
Yeah, super stylized, which I guess was okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I liked it.
It was all right. I wasn't too worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
She gets out. She gets in a cab, but then she notices Rick Flag and Idris Elba. And so, like, she goes up, and like they're like got this whole operation planned, and she's like, "What are you guys doing?" And this was in the trailer, so it's not even a spoiler. And he's like, "We were gonna rescue you, and we had a good plan too, whatever." So now they're all together. So now let's see. This just leads into them doing Operation Jotunheim now, or
I don't remember exactly how they get back.
Well,
together.
there's also the hard drive.
Well, that comes in later.
Yeah, that comes in later. Yeah, I think now that they're all together, they're basically just forming their plan to go into Operation Jotunheim, which involves explosives. They're going to blow up the building, but I don't know if they have. I don't know what else their plan is exactly.
Well, I know they're going to use the Brainiac to get in. Like, at this point, do they know? They do know about the Starfish, right? Someone told them about that.
Well,
yeah,
we find out that like Waller's like, later on, like we're not worried about what happens over there. That's actually a positive thing if things go haywire.
Right.
So like, it sounds like they didn't really have a plan for the Starfish or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, like I said, it's been 6 days since I watched this movie, so I don't remember beat by beat. But they get to Jotunheim, and it starts just raining like really hard. And Idris Elba's like, "Oh, it'll give us cover or whatever." So they're like all going towards the building, and they encounter like some resistance at the door, and they basically just make short work of them. Like they shoot a couple of them. King Shark like rips one of them in half.
Oh yeah.
And they get it. Then they use the Thinker to get into the building. I think like Cena shoves his face into the scanner or whatever. And then he breaks the scanner so the other guys can't get in. And so once they're in, they basically put the blast shields around the thing so the other guys can't get in. And they start like ramming it with like a Humvee or something.
I don't remember.
They place a bunch of plastic explosives around. And then, they split into two teams, right? And one team is placing explosives
on higher levels.
Yeah. And then I believe it's like John Cena, Ratcatcher 2,
the Shark,
and Rick Flag.
They plant explosives on the lower level, and then Brainiac kind of takes them into the where all the starfish/zombies.
Yeah, because Starro's power is he releases smaller starfish that attach to people's faces, and it makes them kind of like zombie slaves of Starro.
Right, he still seems like he's in control of all the.
Yeah, they're just extensions of him.
Yeah. And then there's all these gruesome experiments that the Thinker was doing with him, and so this. So now the Thinker basically reveals that Amanda Waller was kind of lying, and basically the U.S. government, I think, was aware of this kind of shit was going on.
Yeah,
no, they were behind
it. They were behind it.
Yeah. And so this pisses Flag off because, he's this proud military guy that finds out that the U.S. is doing this shitty stuff. So he's like, okay, I'm going to take the data, like you were saying, the hard drive here, and I'm going to expose it to, journalists or whatever. So this now is where we find out that John Cena, he's this dickhead.
Yeah, he's a plant.
Yeah, he's a plant. And, his mission is basically to destroy this hard drive, make sure
keep everything quiet.
Keep everything quiet. So now an explosion.
So also when they're down there with the zombies, there's also a big viewport, so you see a glimpse of the gigantic starfish that the thing is grown into.
Yeah. That's right.
So that becomes important later.
So now I don't remember exactly how it happens, but an explosion. Oh, I think it explains it later. So an explosion happens, it basically like causes a bunch of stuff to start collapsing, and it breaks the glass that was containing Starro.
All the explosives, I think, on the lower level went off, but it didn't cause the building to quite collapse, but it was very damaged.
Yeah. So Starro immediately like kills the Thinker. Like his tentacle comes out, grabs him, and like rips him apart or whatever. Flag and Cena start fighting over the hard drive.
Right.
And then Ratcatcher 2, I believe, is like trying to find.
She's kind of going through the rubble, like trying to escape.
Yeah, and her rat is helping her find a way out. So now it cuts to, I think it says like 8 minutes earlier or something. We get Idris Elba, King Shark, Polka Dot Man, Harley Quinn. They're in a team. They're planting explosives. Oh, and Milton. Milton's there as well. Oh, yeah. Okay, I remember what happened now. So they're doing their thing, but guards, the military gets in, and they start getting in a fight. So the military kills Milton, and then they kill a bunch of the military guys. And this is where this joke never really works for me, but like, you know, the Polka Dot Man is like, oh no, they got Milton. He was such a good guy. And then Harley Quinn's like, who's Milton?
Yeah, nobody knew or cared who Milton was.
Yeah, and he's like, he was with us the whole time. And she's like, no, I think I would have known, like if a guy named Milton was with us the whole time or whatever.
But they did do a callback on that.
Yeah.
On that bad joke.
So then more military guys show up, and actually, I'm forgetting a scene. There's a scene where King Shark like goes off on his own upstairs, and there's like this, for some reason, an aquarium that has these little colorful creatures.
Yeah, and it's just like some completely like different random creature, unrelated.
Yeah, that I guess maybe they're experimenting with or something. And he's like playing with them, like tapping on the glass, and they'll like follow him. And
like take his form and kind of play.
Yeah. So then what happens is like Polka Dot Man is about to shoot his polka dots at the army people, and like Harley Quinn's like, no, because I forget there's like an explosive or something that he hits. And I forget exactly how the explosive like gets on the ground or what. Maybe it was one of the ones they planted. But like, yeah, his polka dots set it off, and we find out that's the explosion that caused the trouble down below.
Okay.
Earlier. So yeah, now things they move around a lot here. Actually, I fucked up again because I believe earlier it goes so Flag and Cena are fighting. Eventually, Cena gets the upper hand, and he like stabs Flag in the heart.
Well, it looks like Flag's about to kill Cena. He's got him right where he wants him, and then Cena desperately grabs like a shard of glass and.
That's right.
Stabs him.
That's right. Yeah, and he stabs him in the heart, and he starts bleeding out. And Flag's like, you know, peacemaker, what a joke or whatever. But he dies. But then there's like this barrier. I think. Well, Ratcatcher 2 shows up, and like. She gets the hard drive, and Cena sees her, and he's like, let it go or whatever. But she starts running from him. So then, like, the chase is on. And so they end up, they get out of the rubble or whatever. But then John Cena's got her in his sights.
Point blank.
And she's like, you can have the hard drive. Why not let me go? And he's like, sorry, you're a loose end. And so he's about to kill her. And then that's when it goes 8 minutes earlier.
Right. And so on the top floor, there's this big explosion. And then, like, Idris Elba begins, like, he falls through one floor, and then that floor breaks, and he falls to another floor. So he goes down, like, 20 floors like this.
Yeah.
And basically, he lands, like, 20 feet from John Cena's Peacemaker.
Kind of another physics-defying thing, but you go along with
it. So then they're having this kind of, like, standoff, and they both pull their guns, and they both shoot at the same time. And I'm like, oh, the bullets are going to hit.
Yeah, you knew it was going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So apparently John Cena's gun shoots these gigantic hollow points, and Idris shoots some smaller caliber pointed bullet and his bullet just dead centers Cena's and goes through and then hits John Cena in, I don't know, the neck or the chest or something.
Yeah.
But
causes him to start like bleeding out.
I don't know. It seemed like there was some reference back to some other discussion they'd had or something.
Yeah, because Cena had said at the beginning of the movie, if we ever shot bullets at each other, this is exactly what would happen, except the other way around.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Because he was saying, yeah, like I'd put a
My
bullet in
would
your
go-
target or whatever, because I use smaller bullets. But then, yeah, at the end, Idris was using the smaller bullets, so I don't know. It was a callback, but it was kind of weird. Okay, so now they all run out and the whole like building's collapsing.
Right. The starfish is starting to shoot up through the floors and
Yeah.
layers, so you start to see a glimpse of him escaping.
Right. So yeah, he gets the starfish. Yeah, Starro gets out. The military starts shooting at him, and then he starts releasing his smaller starfish.
Right, like spores almost.
Yeah, and they just like start, hitting everybody except for our heroes, of course. Well, Ratcatcher, she does a smart thing and actually puts on a mask, like a gas mask, so they can't attach her face.
Yeah, Idris is just shooting all the ones that are coming his direction.
Yeah, I was gonna say the other ones don't do that, but they don't get caught. He's shooting them, and like the other ones avoid him somehow, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, they get out alive. Starro goes away, and like this is where like Waller's like mission accomplished or whatever. But then like Idris has a change of heart where he's like, "Well, we're just gonna let Starro go like kill a bunch of people." So they start like walking towards Starro, like gonna stop him, and she's like, "Don't you go off mission," and like she's gonna blow him up or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is where like one of her own people like stop her.
Right. Hits her in the head with like a golf club or something.
Yeah, something. And I mean, there was different points in the film where we're kind of introduced to like her staff or whatever, but I don't think anything of real importance happens
Yeah.
with them. So yeah, now they're in this city. They're going after Starro. It's like wrecking shop on people, making a bunch of zombies and just knocking down buildings and shit. And I don't really remember the sequence of events.
Like they're shooting it all up, like nothing seems to really be affecting it.
First Idris, like, God, this is another physics thing that pissed me off. He brings out this like small gun that like magically like turns into this huge gun.
Yeah.
Right, he's got like all these small pieces on his belt, and he puts a small piece on it, and it expands and becomes a big piece of the gun. And he does this like 5 times until he has this gigantic.
It's kind of dumb, but
Yeah, it's dumb, but yeah, he's just shooting the shit out of it with this thing, and nothing's happening. And then at some point, like the polka dot guy, like he releases his powers and he shoots it, and basically melts like a good chunk of its leg off.
yeah, and he's like, "That's your mother," or whatever,
Right, to piss him off. And then yeah, it cuts to the scene of the mom, the gigantic, hitting a building or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, he like cuts it off at the ankle or whatever, and then he like kicks him and crushes him or something.
Yeah, killed him.
Yeah, so he's dead. It just uses one of its tentacles to kill him.
Yeah, so he's dead, and then
At the same time, like Idris tells Harley to go up to the roof and use her
she's got the
spear.
spear, and then he sicks the shark guy on him, and so like it jumps up on him and is like chewing on him and stuff.
Right, and it
Which is
just
kinda
like
a distraction.
and it just like throws him off like through a building, right?
Yeah.
And
But
so
at that point, like Harley's ready to go.
but they still need a distraction. So Ratcatcher, well, did
Ratcatcher
Ratcatcher
comes in at the end.
Right around the same time as Harley.
Yeah, well, I think they start getting basically overwhelmed by the zombies.
Yeah.
So she calls in just like all the rats in the city, basically.
Yeah, because the starfish are like, this city belongs to us, and she's like, no, it belongs to them. And then there's like a billion rats.
That's right. Yeah, that's another thing. Just a cartoonish amount of rats.
Right.
Like I'm sure that city had a lot of rats, but not that many.
I don't know. I mean, New York has a ton of rats. I'd buy it
Like
if
you
it was
probably
New York.
you probably don't want to know how many rats there really
That's probably
are.
true. And like, yeah, and they're like all like jumping over Idris
Yeah.
and everything, and
They swarm on it.
but so they swarm like a leg of Starro, and he's like trying to shake him off, And this gives Harley Quinn the chance, her shining moment where she runs with the spear, jumps off, stabs it through the eye. Now this is something. So she goes into the eyeball juice,
right? Straight through the cornea or whatever.
and then this is something. Like, I don't know much about rats, but they start pouring into here.
Right, they crawl in, yeah.
Can they breathe underwater? Because they're under there for a long time, and they're not just drowning. They're going in, and they're, chewing through, Starro's, veins and shit.
Right, they swim in, and they're, chewing through, the eye cables and whatever.
Can rats do that? Can they hold their breath underwater and chew shit underwater?
Well, I imagine you could get, a minute or two.
I think they were, suicidal for this cause, maybe. I'm not sure.
I guess, yeah, you could say she's controlling them. So maybe her
but
control.
Also, I would kind of think it'd be under pressure, so you get squirted back out.
Yeah, again, this movie has a lot of cartoonish physics that you just kind of go, okay, that's the way it is, I guess.
I'm okay with it. Yeah, I just accept it. Yeah.
So yeah, basically this kills Starro. Starro collapses. Harley Quinn gets out of all covered in the eyeball goo
and she doesn't drown. She's in there for a minute.
Yeah, she's in there for a while, just
very
watching it very calmly,
just smiling.
Yeah, once you're in, your only thought is be I need to get the fuck out of this eyeball.
Right. I'm gonna drown in here. This is terrible. Yeah, disgusting.
And yeah, this is kind of where the movie wraps up. So Idris, he's got the hard drive, and instead of releasing it to journalists, what he does is he uploads it to a private server, and he tells Waller that this is set up to where if any of us die, this thing is going to get released to the public. And so she's like, you got me. And so, they're released. Now, maybe if they do another one of these movies, though, because you would think they would still want to get the explosives out of their necks or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So somehow they call in, a rescue plane. I don't know who that belongs to, but... yeah, this is basically the wrap up of the movie. They get flown out, and then we get that right before the end credits, the thing where we find out Weasel's still alive, coughs up
Right.
the water.
That's
whatever.
another thing is they have perfect tracking on these guys at some points, and other points they're just they're out of range. Who knows? Whenever convenient.
Yeah.
And then if you wait through the credits, there's a very end credit scene where we find out that John Cena didn't die. He's in the hospital. They brought him, back to life or whatever. And I believe this is setting up, they're going to do, from what I understand, a Peacemaker HBO Max series.
What's the deal with all these spin-offs that I don't even have? I have zero interest in. They're let's do Hawkeye.
But the thing is, you say that, but you might end up actually liking Hawkeye.
I have doubts.
I was surprised I liked WandaVision. I didn't really care about those characters. Well, Wanda especially. So
Yeah, she hadn't put in too much airtime though, really.
yeah.
Well, I bet if you added up Hawkeye's airtime over all the Marvel movies, it would be a pretty small percentage.
Yeah. Pew 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 pew.
Maybe still too much, but but I mean, I can't totally shit on it. Sometimes series, surprise you, where you're like, I like that more than I thought.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I wasn't in love with John Cena, so.
I feel like this movie had the James Gunn touch. You could definitely feel some of the same themes from Guardians in here, and
it didn't feel badly put together. Just I don't know.
It does seem like he likes kind of the oddball characters that are come together.
Yeah.
I will say, and again, it's kind of unfair to compare it to Guardians, and I guess he couldn't really do this, but Guardians is known for having such an awesome soundtrack.
Yeah,
this
I thought
movie,
about that.
this movie was just filled with indie music that wasn't catchy at all, and there wasn't one memorable song really at all.
I agree.
At least the trailer had "Dirty Work" by Steely Dan, which is a great song. So yeah, any plot points or just maybe little things you can think of that we didn't go over?
Nah, I think that's probably good.
Do we mention like Starro's dying words where he was like, "I was happy until basically humans found me"?
Oh yeah, he does say something like that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That like like he was perfectly happy like in space or whatever.
So he has like a kind of a sad
Well,
ending.
kids are here, so why don't we wrap up?
Okay.
Okay, guys, scale 1 to 10. What's your final score?
8.
7.
I'm going to do a 6.8. All right, guys. Well, we got kids coming in here, so we're going to wrap things up. Thank you very much for watching. If you will, give us a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Give us a positive review, and follow us on the social medias. Guys, where can people find you on Twitter?
I am at a name for this too, and that's the number 2.
At unsolicited SUG.
And you can find me at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. And that's going to do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Have a good one.